You're listening to the Forest School podcast with Lewis Ames and Gemma Southerden.
Hi guys, this week we were joined in the woods, in our very own woods, by Nick, Elvy, as well as Rudy and Sunny. They all dropped in to come and have a chat with us about the transformational side of Forest School, whether going into the woods is always a transformative experience, whether that's always positive or negative, as well as what our role is in that transformation, and answering the question, are we the magic bacon? We'll find out. Enjoy.
We're doing transform. What is it?
Well, because I just saw
Transformers.
you were.
Talking about Transformers.
Yeah, we are robots in disguise. We're well disguised. I saw your post. I think it's an advert for your course, which I thought was very clever, saying that it was transformative.
Yeah.
And I only said anything because I did a whole big piece of work on Forest School and working in the forest and transformative
Amazing.
experiences.
Tell us about that. We are recording, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
There's a nuthatch.
Oh, is
so I'd
there?
let you know. Yep.
Oh, it's much easier on Zoom because you don't get distracted by
We do that
nature.
all the time.
Yeah.
We're like talking, going, squirrel, woodpecker, it's a buzzard. Go on, tell us about this piece of work. What
Oh
was
yeah, so I'm going to be really, really rusty because it was ages ago. But I have had one of my special interests. One of them has been fairy tales and folk tales, and particularly
Nice.
ones in woods and forests, and with some other kind of outdoor leadery type people. But I might say that they were less Forest School and probably more outdoor adventure education.
Mm-hmm.
They had this view of Forest School as being middle-aged women, often. Sorry, Lewis. And we'll talk about it quite a lot. And then I was like thinking about it, and then actually one of the conclusions I came to is that actually maybe some women get to a point in their lives where they are at a sort of transition point anyway, and that actually the woods and the forest looks like a really good way to go. And then when I did a bit of research, it became really obvious that everything we're fed from when we're really little, from babies probably, about the woods and the forest, is that it is a transformative journey. It is a process that is transformative. Anything or anyone that goes into the woods is transformed, and they come out the other side different, or they don't come out. And then so I was just kind of researching around that idea of why some people might be attracted to working in woodlands when maybe particularly that wasn't something that they did before. And it's not that hard to get your head around, really, is it, when you think about it? Because we are fed all the fairy tales, and we have lots of modern versions that still exist. I think it's really fascinating.
That is completely fascinating. I wonder what, like, where even before the folk tales, like where, thinking about, like, you know, evolutionary and, like, you know, ancient history.
That's got to be like
prehistory.
to do with plains, grassland, safe, woods, not so safe.
But exciting.
Yeah.
Potential.
And also
full of
Live in the flat
resources.
bit with good
Woods
visibility.
are resources,
And
aren't
need
they?
it,
As well
yeah,
as
need it.
danger. So scary things live in the woods,
But it's worth it.
but you have to go in there because that's where all the resources are. And so I imagine it will be a bit like, say, where I grew up in the China Clay area, there would be kind of myths about, oh yeah, someone that went into the mica pool and then didn't ever come out, sort of thing. And you never know when you're a kid whether that's true or not true. And then so probably some tales evolve as a kind of warning, don't they?
Yeah, and maybe I'm wondering about, like, oh, you know, so if you're living in your group of fellow humans, and then, like, who's going to be the one that's going to go into the woods to get the stuff? Oh, it's going to be me. I'm going to go, like, because I've got the personality that's ready for that. And so they go in, and maybe they don't come out, And maybe there are stories told about like, well, we don't really want to tell everyone that they've probably corked it or they've actually changed into a bear now. So do you know what I mean? The kind of stories that you tell kids and go, that his or her spirit has become
They've merged with the bear.
Exactly.
In its stomach.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like those stories,
Yeah.
like Father Christmas, like kind of, just put a gloss of paint over it, and make it really cool. that they're never going to come back
Do you
again.
think the woods though is also about like, as you get increasingly into, like closer to now, the more woodsy people are the fringes of society. Like the more you've got like a built up area, the more you've got like the only people that go in the woods are the foragers and the woods people and the whatever. We here in the city don't. Squirrels running everywhere.
Oh, crazy squirrels. Squirrel race.
But do you know what I mean? Like it becomes like the others. So the
Yeah.
story makes sense because you can tell the story in the city about the quaint country folk who still do the dangerous, quirky thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's still. But then you've got to put the like Aesop's fable dollop of morals on it of like, and that's why you always leave a trail or like.
Stay to the path. Yeah.
So in my mind, from thinking about what happens in stories and how we might apply that to life, you guys might be like the magical guides.
We are the bear.
Yeah. So one of the things that happens in all of those kinds of tales is that there are magical creatures, magical objects, talking trees. So we did a big sort of production of Baba Yaga.
I was a gate that was helpful.
Sunny was
We
a
told that
gate.
story here the other day.
Yeah, I was a really helpful gate.
And there was a rag, and there was some bacon fat,
Amazing.
and those are all magical,
Yeah.
helpful beings, I guess, to
On the hero's quest, like to get you.
Yeah.
on the
to move
journey.
you on your journey and make sure that you are successful. And then so I was just thinking, when people first enter the woods and that's not their natural environment yet, maybe they are a bit on the hero's quest, but possibly, like you guys, after you've been outside in the woods for a long time and you're really comfortable and that is your place, then if we're applying that to ourselves as outdoor leaders, maybe you get to move on and become. You can be the bear, Lewis. You can be a magical bear. You get. I can be some bacon fat in Baba Yaga. So I just think it's really interesting, like the roles that we might all play, because not everybody's going to be on that journey in the same way. If you're not a newbie, you're not necessarily still feeling like you're on that hero's quest journey.
That's really interesting. Do you reckon that you can, if you are someone who's become transformed and you are the magical bear or the magical bacon fat, do you think that you can feel, like for you guys, like can you feel the sort of moment or moments or the period of time where it is shifting? Do you think it's something you can look back on and go, oh yeah, it was about like year 2 and I was feeling that thing, or do you think it's just so slow and
that's really interesting.
and
I think
gradual
it's
that
like
you just
the
don't
boiling
even notice?
frog thing, where you
The
don't
what? know.
boiling frog.
Boiling frog? What's the boiling
like
frog?
it's in cold water, and if you heat it up, like it won't jump out because it doesn't notice the
Oh, okay,
temperature
yeah,
change because it's so slow.
Okay.
But if you put it in boil, it will like jump up.
Okay.
So that if you're just in it, you don't
You
notice.
just, because
You
you,
don't
just
necessarily.
keep changing and stuff keeps happening really slowly. I think it's easier to notice in the kids though, because we've had some kids for like 5 years or something. You're like, oh yeah, no, actually that's like quite a long way from when we first met them, or like, I don't know, like some that have become youth leaders now, and you're like, yeah, that's really cool.
But then they'll go through a different kind of journey, won't they? And it'll be transforming in another way again, because they'll be comfortable in that environment, but then they have to kind of adapt to a different role. And they have to learn all that stuff again,
Like
but from a different perspective, with a different lens on it.
Because I can look and see when I was like still learning loads of stuff, because there was a time where I didn't help. I was like in the sessions, and so I would be really annoying. So I like climbed to the top of a tree just for fun because I was bored.
Like
and
much
became
higher than
like
the
hazard.
insurance would allow.
And so I can tell like when I was different or when I didn't get it, but I don't know if I'd be able to tell you the point where I understood. Like I could go, yeah, at that point I know I didn't get it, but I don't know when that changed. Like I just tell you that that's different to now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't be able to go, yep, that point. That's when.
There's something there though about different journeys that like I think for me, if I am the magical bacon fat, then I think when I started I had a good few years of thinking that I was getting everyone on the same journey. They'll come to me, we'll do the journey that I offer, and then we'll go, you know, at the end.
Like finished package.
And it was like, yeah, and which was weird because I definitely had like a real view of like, God, school's really churning people into like, putting people into boxes. And actually I was probably in the position of going like, this is my outdoor shaped box, and I will get you into this outdoor shaped box.
Well, that's what you've been through. That's the system you've been through as a child, and then you're working in it. So it's only natural that you will then go, well, but I like being outside, so I'll kind of do the same thing but outside. It's in your bones almost, isn't it?
But then you get to, I think now I'm more comfortable with the idea that like everybody that comes through is doing a different journey, and I'm a different, like,
and that everyone in different ways is the bacon fat as well.
Yeah.
And I think that then leads to, that is probably why the like, you know, the like crazy mentor that all the heroes' journeys have got, which is probably where we end up because we're not entirely sure what we're helping them with or if we're helping at all. And then that comes across as this like batshit, you know, like, let me tell you about the woodpeckers, and just because that's what you end up doing. You're not as like strict in a guide of like, come here and I will help you. Like, I can give you this box but I can't tell you what it does. You can give them something.
Or how you use it is your own magical choice.
I think for me there's definitely something along the journey of like coming to the same place every you know, almost every day for years, and coming to the same woodland. And I kind of want to talk with Jenny Archard about this because she's doing her research on like the power of place and you know, and practitioners. But there was something that kind of shifted in me where it kind of changed from just like thinking again, teacher hat on, going right, okay, this group is coming, I'm working with this group, I need to prepare, and I need to plan, and I need to like get all the resources and that kind of thing. And then when you like chill with that and you go, oh, it's actually fine, the forest offers what it offers, and it's not all about what I am giving these people you know, all the time. And I stopped like absolutely cramming my van with every single resource in case somebody wanted to play with it, you know. I stopped doing that, and then that gave me the headspace to kind of notice the woods itself. And so my own personal relationship with the forest then developed because I wasn't fretting about like my duties so much. And I noticed so many things just by going to the set, coming here every day and noticing the details of the seasons and the plants and the animals and stuff. And then that kind of carried on into the rest of life, and I looked at the natural world in a whole new way. And I think for me that was I am now part of the forest kind of thing.
I'm a magical tree that can speak to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you guys have, sometimes Mum and I will realise that we're talking to like, we've got someone new join a very established toddler group, or and you realise that like with the group you've been on this journey, but this new person has joined and you are singing songs in a different language while you all bow down to like the certain and this new person is like, giving you the face of like,
what is this?
Okay,
and you sort of
we
think,
look like this.
I have to step back a few paces. It's just like
But at that point, do you think when that new person is there with these probably quite alien things happening, that's when they either decide themselves if they're going to enter and carry on, or if they're
run away from the
they're going to turn around and go back, because that's not a journey they're ready for. Your freaky songs. And
Do you just
and
mean
you see
adults?
it. Say it again.
Do you just mean adults? Sorry, as you were saying that, I was trying to imagine adults and children doing
Anybody,
that.
I think anybody, children and adults. They kind of arrive and you see them.
It's like a test period.
Scoping it out,
like trying to work
and they're trying to imagine themselves here. You know, can I do this? Is this the thing that is for me? And there are lots of reasons why they might think it is for them or it isn't for them. But maybe your songs are a part of that. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe the things that you have established as a part of the existing journey for everybody else. I wonder if at that point they think, oh, I want to be a part of that. or wherever they're like, oh,
Yeah.
this isn't me right now.
Even the youth leaders do that though. Like they'll come and then some of them will be like, yeah, this is definitely what I want to
And
do.
they just
And then
naturally
others
join in.
come for a day, and then at the end of the session you're like, yeah, you're not coming back, are you? You might say you're coming back, but you're not coming back, because like it's a different mindset in it. Yeah.
What do you think makes them? I mean, it's hard to know, isn't it, without asking them directly. But why do you think people go, oh no, that's not for me? Do you think it's like the outdoors in general? Do you think it's like the culture of a group, or they expected something different?
Expected something different, especially with our groups, because if you go into it thinking that it's forest school, it's really not forest school.
Right.
And if you're like, or if you go into it thinking, oh, you'll be working in the outdoors with lovely children and like
Lovely sweet
frolicking
little
around,
lads.
it isn't really.
Everyone's
You get
skipping
like people
around,
jumping
picking
on
wildflowers.
you and like screaming, and you just like, for us that's normal. But if you come into that thinking it's going to be something else, and then it is what it is, it's like.
And it's funny because like you could come on one day and be like, wow, this is not for me, and then the next week we're doing something completely different,
Or even
and
different
all the
groups.
kids are completely different. Like it's kind of crazy to think about how much the like woods or because we move around and we will go to the beach or the moor, and how much that makes a difference, or the weather, or like how much that does really impact
Or
what
part
you
of the
might
term
see
it's
or what
in.
you think
I
you've
don't know if
seen.
you notice that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
End of term items.
if someone's just had holiday, they will arrive differently. If they are waiting for a holiday, yeah, that can be really challenging. And for some children who, you know, some children definitely will be really anxious about what they're going to meet for the holiday at home. And you become their safe space, and so if they know they're not going to be with you for a week or a number of
They're
weeks,
starting to work out what that's going to look like.
yeah, and then we can see different behaviours.
I was just thinking about like when either adults or children like decide to move on, like they go, okay, I'm not going to come anymore, like especially people who've been for quite a long time, and about like how that might relate to that whole transformative fairy tale, folk tale thing, and about whether you can kind of match that in any way, where, you know, if you're thinking of it like a hero's quest, and for some people obviously it's going to happen at different times, but whether people are going, yeah, I've actually,
I'm happy now.
yeah, I've done the thing I set out to do, or no, that's not right, not set out to do, because you don't know what you're going to do you? But I've
But you
I've
get to a
done
place
my
where you
time.
feel kind of like satisfied or like a finish naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
One of the things we were talking about on the way here is that we can also be in danger, particularly in research or when we're trying to get data from our sessions, that we almost expect a transformation,
Because
and
we're
that
so
we have to
used
be
the
really,
story
really
of
wary
it.
of it. So that's really interesting, Gemma. I think, you know, bringing up that at what point does someone feel like they have, you know, been through a transformation and they've arrived and they're happy and they will move on to something else, and at what point can we see that? So often, I don't know if this happens as much anymore, but definitely in the early days, lots of data would be collected, say, in a 6-week block or in a 10-week block, and you're quite likely to see lots of change, I would say, in that kind of a period of time. But then if people stay with you, then it just undulates. You know, it's not an increasing graph. It goes up and
No,
down,
oh,
up
yeah.
and down, up and down.
Definitely.
I was just wondering, as you were saying that, you were saying see the change, and I'm wondering if we can always see the change.
I think sometimes if you're looking for it, like you miss it. If you're going,
Whoa.
oh yeah,
Whoa, man!
She's deep in it.
Slow down.
no, but like if you're like looking for what's different or what's changed, and then you might be looking for certain things, and then if it's something you don't expect or something that you might not see, or you might just notice it randomly one day, but if you're searching for it, I feel like you would miss it because it doesn't come up in the ways you think.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think that is the problem with a lot of forest school research, is that it's so subjective and it's so like, you know, I think when people criticise forest school and go, well, you know, there's actually no proof, it's like, well, yeah, but how do you flip and prove it? Like, there are researchers who are putting, you know, the magical goggles on kids and monitoring their heart rate and their, all of those kind of things, and like that's the kind of scientific, well, yes, I can prove that stress levels are doing this, or blah de blah. But there is definitely a lot of, you know, if you wanted to, you could really do some pretty rubbish research and go, oh yes, look, you know, everyone's just so much happier now and it's just really great and it's definitely transformative. But it's like, but who are we to say that? But like, I think you were trying to say, Liz, like, how can you look inside somebody and go, oh yes, this has definitely been a great experience for you? Like, you don't know, do you? You really don't. And it could have been transformative in a way that's negative at times. You know, you're talking about going undulate. Like, something really scary can happen in the woods. It can happen at forest school, and that can set somebody back, or it can be a real challenge
when the
for someone.
hunt dogs come through, for example.
Exactly that.
But we're saying, like, if we're saying that we're saying 6 weeks is normally what we consider transformational, or 10 weeks is what, you know, but also that just any visit to a woods in and of itself is transformational. Whether that's, I mean, could you put a minimum on it? Is 5 minutes going to be transformational? But then, as leaders, we're probably, if we're honest, still learning about our learners for 6 weeks to then go, so that's how I know who you are. But learners might have had a transformation between the gate and, you know, the end of your first session, and that's when I think it's valuable that that we're not on our own, that we are talking to parents, that we are talking to schools, we're talking to, because, you know, the cliche one is like, you know, it's always the kid that's a bit wobbly in class, and then they come out and they're just like, oh, I've never seen them in this light, and they've done whatever. But equally, like, I think it's sometimes important to check with parents, because they might go, oh, they never touch the dirt at home, but they might have been touching dirt week 1 with us because of other stuff that we've put in place. And like, and I guess also remembering that transformation is not always permanent or linear. That sometimes it's forwards, backwards, you know, it bunny hops, or sometimes it's big leaps, and that, like, for me at least, when I hear the word transformation, I imagine like a switch has flipped. You know, you have transformed, and therefore you will not go back. But like, it might be something that happens over a day or a session, and then it ebbs back a bit, and then the next session it comes a bit forwards and it goes back a bit. I'm just wondering if transform is the right word.
I know that if I don't bring up trauma-informed work, Mel Kent, who I work with, will actually kill me while you're saying this.
Sounds traumatic.
Yeah, it is. She's traumatic. Because when you're working with trauma, what Mel will definitely say is that you can see an improvement, and you can get really, you know, you can be really pleased for them, and then actually all of a sudden it can appear to go backwards, you know, or behaviours can return that you thought had gone, and that's not an unusual response for children or people that have had some kind of significant trauma, because they will need to test stuff. So they might have made massive progress,
like the initial burst,
and it might look just amazing, and then all of a sudden you can see some quite challenging or stressful behaviours,
stuff you've not
seen
before.
Something new that you think, oh, okay,
that's coming out now.
So now we're seeing this. And so I definitely don't think that it is a straightforward path through the woodland for lots of people. Maybe it is for others, I don't know. But for lots of people that we work with, it wouldn't be, I don't think.
Do you think that's true for leaders, in terms of like, if all of us stopped doing this now, if we all went and had to get office jobs, do you think, God, horrible, but like, are we set now? This is us, we've been in the woods for however many years we've been working in the woods, we are permanently transformed, or would we need to keep topping it up to keep, do you know what I mean?
Away from the woods and then came back, what would
that's
it be like?
So we had someone that came to work with us who is a sound designer for games, and he was talking about, because he does Ollie, and he lives in London, and he was like that's quite different for him, what he would normally do, but he loves it, so he, you know, it's worth it for him, but he goes and does like a, what did he call it?
Like a sort of meditation thing?
Yeah,
Like
where
a
he
retreat.
so he'll go and sit. It doesn't matter where, he might be in a park, and he'll go and sit and he listens to the stuff he can hear that's like him. So clothes rustling, and then like a meter, and then like, and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And we did that with him, and he was like, yeah, and it just kind of presses reset for me. So I wonder if maybe being in the woods gives you the skills to do that in other places. Like you might learn how to regulate from stuff like the river or like the trees, or listening to things that you can take the skills from, even if you're not there. Don't know.
I definitely feel like I don't know if I could do the same work in a classroom anymore. Like I feel really certain about that. And I think education has moved on, so maybe that explains why I feel like that, because it doesn't look the same as when I was first in it. But I really can't imagine doing things inside anymore. That doesn't mean it will stay that way. My interests move on really quickly, so I get bored quite quickly. But actually, this is not something that I have been tired of yet.
It's funny that, isn't it? I'm
Yeah.
the same, and I keep
Yeah.
wondering like when I'm gonna get bored. Like I keep checking in with myself
Yeah.
and going like there's like definite kind of, this is gonna freak Lewis out now because he's like I'm not leaving, don't worry. But there's definite like 2 years is a real like itchy feet time for me. Like 2 years in a thing, I'm like, yeah, do you know what? I'm gonna retrain now. I'm gonna go back to university and like do something else.
Squirrels going in and washing up.
Get out of it, you
Cheeky squirrel.
cheeky rascal. Yeah, and then I kind of compare it to other things I've done. Oh, I've lasted longer at this than I did when I was working in the
Yeah, but
cinema.
you do the same.
And I've lasted longer
That's
at this
really
than I
funny.
did when I was doing acting. And I'm like, all that kind of thing. And then, so my only length comparison thing is teaching in a classroom, which
Yeah.
was 9 years. So I'm going, oh, I wonder if
wonder
I'll
if I'll
last
make
that
it.
long. Exactly. And then I thought, yeah, I think I definitely will, because there's nothing, because I'm very used to going, okay, I'm doing this for a certain amount of time, but that's the thing, that's the like ambitious like thing. And it's taken me quite a long time to get used to. There is no ambitious thing. So for a while I was like, I'm going to do a PhD. I spoke with you about it, didn't I? I'm definitely. And I was like, yeah, but why do I actually want to do that? I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to do that right now. Everything's just chill, and I find that really hard to not go, well, what's the next thing that I want to plan for? And just go, it's all just fine.
Do you think time in general gets transformed in the woods? I think
question,
I think
Lewis.
that's the
That's a good
thing that is
question.
like,
Yeah.
it feels different. Looking at the clock, it's definitely a change from like, classroom. The bell goes off at the certain times, and you do whatever. But then also there's different and bigger things about like, if you've actually got some nature connection going on, your sense of what's quick feels. If I can get something done in a month, I feel like that's quite fast now. Whereas I don't think I would have thought that before.
Oh,
or
your time scale
my
definitely
sense of
changed.
time
Oh my God. That's transformative as an observer of you as a person. That's
Tell us
really
Go on,
changed.
yeah, tell me how I was
What
broken.
have you observed?
Okay, so no, nothing was broken. It's complete. It's all just neutral. It's just different.
Yeah.
So you and I are both quite like, I want to do a thing. I need to get it done. Like, do the thing, get the thing done, do the thing. But you were very, very like, do the thing, do it immediately. Like, I've had an idea and it's a great idea, and we're going to do the idea. In fact, all of the ideas right now, do it all. Great. And it's very exciting.
And
It is
it's
very
worked.
exciting.
We're very successful.
Yeah, it has. But I would say just the time scale. So you still have the ideas, and you're still like, oh, I want to do the thing. But the impression I get vibe-wise is that you do it you still do the things, but just over a longer time. That's my impression.
That's
as an observer.
really impressive.
Just as a
That's good. Good
maybe
work.
more in rhythm with
Hey,
the woods. There you go.
You are transformed.
You are
I'm
transformed.
so much less efficient as a worker.
This is true. So am I. But
I bet you're doing other kinds of work though, aren't you?
Oh,
I mean
definitely.
that what you're talking about, I guess, is very sort of practical work jobs. But my impression of you guys is that you're working incredibly hard, with the well-being of the people that you're working with. And that is work. I think that's such a large part of what happens if it's going well. I will say in brackets,
Yeah.
if it's going very well, that is the work.
Oh, definitely. And I was reflecting on that yesterday when I got back from, we just finished doing 3 days of holiday community. And I sort of, when like you've done something that really is like tired out your whole body. I felt like that, but for like our skills. And I felt it as a communal thing. So it wasn't just me, it was you and the other colleague you were working with. And I really felt like, whoa, I can actually feel the skills that have happened, and looking back on myself.
It felt like the
years
performance.
ago,
It felt like you've put everything in, and then you have the like. For me, at least, it feels a bit like that's the show night where you go, oh look, these are all the things I do, and it's all muscle memory, and like can pull that out.
I just felt like I was, felt like we were all dealing with, brand new group, never been here before, a lot of them, bringing all the stuff that they're bringing with them, and you're just reacting, and you're going, okay, well, this person needs this right now, so I'm going to be like this, and this, but this person needs something quite different, so I'm going to be like this, or I'm not going to speak now because I've learned that when I, all those skills. It is skills, just being with people, and it was like a muscle that ached and went, and I was really proud of us in that way because I could like feel it. I was like, yeah. Whereas I don't know if you guys have ever felt this, but when you're not used to being in the woods and not used to working in this way at the beginning, it can sometimes feel a bit like, what am I actually doing? Like, what am I actually...
That's really interesting, because I go to a session, and if I'm not using, like, flexing that weird skills muscle, then I'm like, what am I actually, should I make a coffee? I don't know why I'm here. And then you're like, okay, I'm sure there's something I could do, but it just feels weird then, the difference between working super hard in that way and then just being like, oh, okay, I am not needed. It's quite funny.
And we're so used to like living in a world that is all about like results and outcomes, and like you have to show what you've done, and you working in the education system is all about like squeezing the kids through the thing and get them the thing. And you can like, what are you doing right now? Well, I'm doing this quite clearly. I'm getting them grades, whatever. And then when you're making that transition and going, I don't actually know, like I'm not teaching in inverted commas. I'm not like, I'm just being here. And everyone's just being here.
It's really hard to explain to people. So if we have youth leaders, I am the person that would like give them the tour, and whilst the session's going, and go, so you could kind of do this sort of stuff, and it's really hard to explain what it is that you do. It's just like, well, if they need this, you can kind of do this, and you can play with them, and you can talk to them, and you can,
but not too much, and not if they're doing that and like this,
because we just do it so much, like it's actually really hard to identify what it is that you're doing, or like, and then explain how to do it. Maybe that's why it's hard to find people. I don't actually know what it is I do.
To you guys, I wonder, like, do you ever feel like I'm going with the kind of performance drama metaphors here, but do you almost feel like it's kind of like choreography or something, like, and it moves quite when it's going well, it all moves quite smoothly, and that what the other person is doing without even really looking at them. You're confident that that's getting done, and that child is being worked with in the way that's appropriate for them right now, and that you kind of glide around each other, feeling really confident that the right stuff is happening. And so, and I guess to go back to the sort of transformative thing, if somebody new comes into that and they're not used to how everything is choreographed and how everybody kind of communicates, often silently, that's so hard for them, I think, sometimes. Maybe children and adults, when you're introducing new people into the setting, you can't, in some ways, I feel like we're sometimes kind of starting again, because you have to be kind to them. Because it when things work really, really well in a team, a new person coming into that team can feel quite isolated, I think. If they can't work out how to get in.
There's something there, isn't there? I think there's something underneath about like transformation being comfortable or uncomfortable, and whether that's valuable, like for leaders and learners. And that we're I haven't got the end of this sentence. Help.
I think that it goes back to what I was saying about transforming from an adult working with young people being like, I am doing the things that I have to do and I know what I'm doing, and then I found that really uncomfortable, that process of going. I felt really guilty. I felt really uncomfortable. I was
not
like
having to make something happen.
Exactly, and I felt really guilty about like, but hang on a minute, I'm getting money, albeit not very much, but I'm getting money from like giving kids the time, the space, the experiences, a lot of which I had when I was a kid, but not through forest school, just through living near the countryside and being allowed and being able, not having many screens and going. And I just, the guilt I felt from like, that all I'm doing is like facilitating that, and like people pay for their kids to have that experience, and that was really uncomfortable. But now I've come out the other side going, no, but heck, like it is worthwhile, and I don't have any guilt about that anymore.
It is. I think if I think about learners though, I'm imagining we have learners. It's normally when you've got someone new come to a group who is comfortable, because like, so we've moved from being like it's the activities we offer, it's to being like actually it's about the ethos and the way we handle things and stuff, and the space and all this stuff. And like, if you have someone who's very comfortable in a very like sticks and carrots, someone will solve my problems for me. If someone works well at school, like the school system works for them, it's an uncomfortable transformation to come to a place where there's like unlearning to be done or changes to be done. And like, sometimes I do feel a bit, guilty's the wrong word, but like, if you take a holiday club for example, you've got someone who like school works for them, this all works, they're coming to us for a couple of days and basically in one way putting them through the ringer in terms of what to expect, right? Because it's like, well, actually we're going to sit down and talk about what's happened rather than me make a decision about how long you've been on the swing, or actually we're going to think about how do these actions impact the woods rather than me go, the golden rules are whatever. And I sometimes feel like, well, this is a really uncomfortable going through the ringer for this transformation for something that you're doing for 2 days. When the school system works well for you, that's what you do 48 weeks of the year. Is it fair to put someone through that transformation if they have a system in place that works?
I think it's really funny because I'm still in college, so I am...
As a woodpecker.
Hey! That's cool. So I'm still in it. And I will come to work and I'm like, wow, I'm like, should be really exhausted, and I'm just not. And a day at college will mean that I'm a certain level of tired, and I do 10 times the amount of work in a day, and I'm like, yeah, what's next?
Oh, you mean in the woods?
Yeah, in the woods, and it's like just completely different. And then I think, so it's really interesting that you talk about the systems between school and in the woods or whatever it is that you're doing. And kids, I think it can look like they're like, what is this? This doesn't work because this is what my teacher does. But actually it might be relief, because I was like talking to one kid and they were like, yeah, but my teacher does this. And I was like, yeah, but you can just talk to me. Like, I'm not going to tell you that that's wrong. Like, could we change it? And they're surprised.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily like, oh, that's not what I want. Yeah. It's just they've had it before, so they don't know how to deal with it or what to do.
I think that's definitely true, and you will hear comments like that, like, oh, I can just do whatever I want.
Yeah, and we've had endless talk of like games that were banned on the playground, or like you know, and endless stuff that you just like, you don't have to worry about that. Yeah. And I think they're kind of a bit shocked that they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Or they act in a really specific way that you wouldn't see anywhere else except from school, because teachers it's very specific, because you've got to learn something and there has to be an outcome. And then in the woods and working with us, and like that doesn't have to be a thing. And if you just go on the journey that you want to go on, and whether that means you do the activity that day or you just get through the day being calm in the woods, or whatever you need, you can do. And it takes a while for them to learn that is okay, and that you don't have to like they don't have to have an outcome at the end of it, and it can just be a nice day.
Yeah. And that's enough. Yeah. And that's all right. Yeah.
I feel like it'll be wrong if I don't mention that some people don't actually have the option of that transformative experience in the woods. And this is on my mind because we just experimented. We did a kind of pilot where we had a bus that took families from Bodmin to our woods, which is only in the next town. Yeah. But we had people on the bus who had only been to the next town once, and someone who turned up in their school shoes into the woods.
We've taken people to green space behind their house that they've never been to.
Yeah, quite a lot of the work that we do in Bodmin usually is in the available green spaces in Bodmin, close to where people live, and not usually in woodland. So I think there's something about the woods or the forest that is quite immersive. And although you can do some really useful, great stuff in different spaces, green spaces and blue spaces, I do feel genuinely it is quite hard to get that sort of immersive feeling or experience. And actually, until last week, I had actively resisted taking people from where they live, if they didn't have transport, out to a different space that they wouldn't be able to access without our support, because I wasn't sure that that was a helpful thing to do. And we've just done it, and it was really interesting, and there was some nervousness from people who don't travel very far from home, probably because they haven't got transport. So their life experience will be largely their home and school and the bits in between. And it was really interesting to do that work, and it was the same stuff we do day in, day out in the woods for us. But it was really evident that some young people were quite, not freaked out, but definitely they were on the edge of their comfort zone. And then, so going back to what Lewis said a bit ago about is transformation, challenging, I think sometimes it is painful, isn't it? It is uncomfortable and it is painful, and you do see that. And I don't know, do you think that you can have transformation without the pain?
Well, I guess that's what we're spotting in our work, is like the woods is doing, you could view it as like the woods is doing the transforming, we're spotting the pain and trying to like ease that and explain the things that are uncomfortable, or like there's some stuff that we do with our ethos where it's like we are doing the transforming. There's some stuff, like you say, like just being on uneven ground, that you go, well, we can help with that, we can help with you genuinely don't know what the sound is coming out of these birds, we can help with those things. And that maybe goes back to what we were saying at the start about like
being the magical guide.
Being the magical bacon fat is like, it just, there we go, right,
Greasing it.
Don't take my...
Sorry, my hypotenuse juice.
I'm gonna curse, right? I edit it. Right. Wait a minute.
What gate?
Snippety snip.
No, it's because they won't be able to tell, but you made you made an action that made me visualise exactly what you were going to say next.
And you couldn't help but say it out loud.
I'm sorry.
Do you want to explain what gate?
What gate? So I was telling Baba Yaga the other day. And the group were eating their lunch, and got to the end of the story where the girl she's oiled the gates at the beginning, hasn't she? And so then she's escaping from Baba Yaga, and the gates remember that she's oiled them, so they're just like, ta-da, I'm gonna let you out because you're cool. So I got to that bit where the gates let her out. I missed the beginning of this. Like, they'd been there and they were listening, but obviously weren't listening. So they were just like, gates? what gates? And they said the gates.
He was well uptight about it as well.
Like, what gates?
Really stressed about the gates.
The gates? What are you on about gates? They're you know, with the gate, and the fat, and the what gates? So yeah, that took us the story in one direction.
Go on, Lewis, do it. Finish it. What were you going to say?
No, it's
gone. I've got the action.
I was having another thought before about if we're thinking about us being guides, like remembering that as the transforming is going on, that all of the other learners are also guides and important, and
Oh, 100%.
so thinking like not
100%.
only in terms of like
Yeah.
a group of young learners who are obviously influencing each other and doing other stuff, but like specifically like going back to that thing of toddler groups and someone coming and being like, what the hell is going on here? Like, actually one of the strengths, I think, is empowering other people in the group to be able to be like, it's okay, they are fucking weird, right, but you will get there, or like,
Yeah,
it's okay, it makes
definitely,
sense in it, but
But then that's like cool, because we will probably do that all the time as leaders, and you can pair people up and you go, yep, that'll work, and you see that where different people are, and you can see, yep, they can guide them with this bit, and or like we always get the kids to take a new person on a tour, because then they will see everything and they get to literally guide them around and be like, yep, this is my woods. Look at it.
But also because if the young people guide a new person around the woods, whether it's a child or an adult, they see it from their perspective. It's not me taking them round and saying, well, this is the area that I hoped that this would occur. If the kids take other kids round, they get to tell them about, that's my den.
About, but now you know about it, so now we're friends.
Yeah, and that's really important kind of.
Do you think that support
attachment.
exists for, so we're saying like becoming a forest school leader is transformational, or becoming an outdoor leader is transformational, and quite, you know, so for forest school it would be your forest school level 3 is like, it's both things, isn't it? Because in some ways that is the transformation. Hopefully you have a really great course and you come out of it and you are you know, a different person you went in. But I've also talked to other people and we've described it as, that's your driving test, then you go and learn to drive. But the support that you get during that level 3 or during whatever outdoor qualification you do is very different. And then you go, right, you're qualified now to go and run a group, but you're not really. I mean, you are on paper, you've got a certificate, but you're still going through.
You don't know what you're missing necessarily, I guess.
Yeah, and like we're all doing this, we're all still transforming as leaders, and like, you know, when I do this thing to help people as they go through after level 3s and whatever,
This thing being the podcast.
yeah. But for lots of people, they've done their level 3 and that's the end of the transformation. Then you're off on your own.
I don't think there is an end, though. Of the
no, but there's the support
Just-
that comes with it. So if you go through school, you've got teachers and parents and community people, and then you go and do a qualification. You go, right, here's your tutors, and they hopefully support you through. And then you go, right, now you're a qualified leader. You can learn about the entire world, and it all counts as forest school. And the support net is like, you've got to go and network. I don't like networking. I don't like.
I'm not a mega fan of networking, but I think it's really important to carry on making sure that you're learning.
Yeah.
And that you don't just go, oh yeah, no, I'm cooked now, I've done it. And I definitely make a massive effort to go out and see what is new. And I'm not great at networking, but I'll go to a course and meet the people on the course while I'm doing a thing. But just hardcore networking is a bit much. But some people love it. But I think it is quite important to have others to talk to and just run stuff by. And we definitely have friends really who operate in their own way, in their own settings, quite close to us, and we will meet and chat and just run stuff through. I don't know, do you guys have something like that, or do you feel a bit bubbled?
Well, we're less bubbled because Wem and I are here. Like this morning, I was putting hammocks up, and occasionally we do like double layer hammocks. You put a hammock up, and then another one, like bunk beds, right? And I was putting it up, and I was like, and I just went, and I was like, Wem, are these hammocks all right? And she was like, probably. I'm not. If you feel comfortable, then you're not comfortable. And I was like, yeah, I'm comfortable. This is before the kids arrived. And then I was showing, have you ever done, I would call it the Superman, where you get in upside down, you put your feet in, and then you flip over.
Yeah.
Right. I last did that a few years ago. I'm about 3 stone heavier than I was then, last time I did it. And I was telling the other person, our colleague, and I was going, oh, have you seen them do it? Yeah, they do this thing. And I put it in, and I just fell, right? I'm
It didn't hold you.
I
Yeah.
put my feet in. I'm 16 stone, and I just hit the hammock
You hit the
underneath.
deck, yeah.
No, I hit the hammock
no.
underneath like a seatbelt.
No.
Right. And I just went like thunk, and then I got up and I just went like, "Well, I'm taking the hammocks down now. They're not safe." And like, you need two people sometimes to bounce stuff
Yeah.
off.
No, I was going to
And,
say
like-
that I think most of the stuff I get is just from everyone that I work with, because I know nothing relatively. Like I don't know, everyone just knows so much. You just absorb it. Like even coming to meet you guys, like I've never met you before, but you just have so much and different knowledge and different experiences. You just kind of have
Everyone
to.
Do you think the
yeah.
woods does that though? Because I was thinking about Wem and I have been through, like, we've gone from, different, it was my company and then Wem came in and then we did all this stuff and we had like, well, I was going to say 18 months, but like, we're still hashing stuff out about like, what do we think about this? Where do we go from there? And like, I don't think that would have been the same relationship building had we not done the majority of it in a woods, where like the conversations that like, that's one of the things that greases
Well,
that.
we can't.
It's a catalyst.
It is a
like-
catalyst, and I think like the times where we try and do work indoors, it just doesn't work. Like it's better to do it over Zoom than it is to do it in the same room. Like I just get really silly if we're like indoors and then we just go. How have we been in the same room for like 2 hours? And we've done. Oh, how have we done this? Nothing has happened. All of the work. That's weird,
Yeah.
isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah.
We've never had a profound conversation or reached any kind of great enlightenment in a room.
But that's because of who we are, and this is true for learners and for leaders, that you and I need the woodpecker to come past every now and again, and we need the like breeze to move. And we were talking.
Because we get bored.
Well, we were talking
Can't
a
focus.
couple of. Let me fucking
Keep interrupting.
Jokes.
Yeah. When we were doing the learning is not all in your head book, and there was a bit in there where there was like one learner saying like, I can listen. They can't do sit still and listen. I can do one of those.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that makes the woods transformational. Is like it's okay to be having a conversation while you whittle, to be walking and doing that thing. Like if we tried to sit down and have all the ethos chats that we've had, or the like, actually it's, for some stuff it's really good when we go like, hey, are we actually paying ourselves enough out of this thing? That's so much easier when you're walking, when you're one of you's doing the fire and the
And
other
it's
one's doing that.
sensory
Then like,
stimulation, isn't it? It's like stimming. It's it's giving you so much extra sensory stimulation that if you need that in order to focus, then that's really helpful.
It's already accounted for. You don't
Yes,
have to
exactly.
go somewhere extra
Yeah.
to get it.
Yeah.
I agree, and that would everything you've just said would work for me.
Yeah.
I think I need all of that extra information going in order to focus somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have done training in a room, and then it's hard to not just go back to schoolness and be a complete tit
Yeah.
and make jokes and be inappropriate
Yeah.
and completely derail the training.
Yeah.
Because it's lacking. It's lacking woodsness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to, there's not enough stimulation there, so it's like, I better create something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're
I
going
know.
to create a diversion.
How does everybody get
I'll
through
be the
school?
woodpecker.
How is that? How is if every single one of us feels the same way about that, then how did we all getting through school? Like,
For you. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
how is that possible?
But I guess
And
that's
then
why
how
we're in the
hasn't it
woods
changed?
image, so that people can
I know.
be in their places
I know.
and in the woods and
Which
do
is
it.
why I would find it very hard, like you were saying, to go back into a classroom environment because, my whole, so if you looked at the hours I spent teaching and how many of those, how much of that time was spent telling somebody to stop swinging on the chair because that's what we were told, don't let them swing on the chairs. I could not tell someone now to stop swinging on a chair. They need to flip and swing on the chair.
Yeah.
You can say, I'm worried you're going to hit your head.
Yeah.
You did that last week. Are you sure you want to do that right now? Or you can, they need, and there's no way you can go to school, okay, they need to move, so there's no answer for that. It's like not like, oh yes, of course we have these £1,000 for you to buy a bouncy ball to sit on instead of a chair, or we can actually we can go outside for English, of course, every day. It's like, well, it's not there, is it? So you're just back in that thing of don't swing in your chair.
Yeah.
You need to move. Like,
Yeah. My sister's just gone back to do some cover work in a secondary, and she says the same thing. It's so hard because there's an expectation for staff to pick up on things that she doesn't care about.
Completely.
And then a thing that happens, and this is interesting talking about teams, a teacher will come in the classroom and comment on how noisy it is, or pull up a child on what they're wearing, and it will be somebody that she hasn't even
She's
flagged
noticed and ignored it
as an issue, but then they almost kind of get picked on by somebody that comes in and interferes, and then I just think it's very, very undermining. And a lot of what you do in teaching, I think, is for the benefit of the other adults, so that they feel confident in your ability. And a quiet classroom looks like you've got control and that everybody's on task, and of course we know that's not how it works. And so it just functions completely differently, doesn't it?
Well, it's like homogenizing, isn't it? It's homogenizing approach and homogenizing like environment, which so that you can be like, the classroom you had last year is like the classroom you had this year, and the classroom, and like that's one way of reducing friction, is to be like, there will be no changes.
It will be the same.
Versus being in a woods, being in a natural space where like, there over there is not like over there, is not like over there, is not like over there.
And even that place feels different to the way it did yesterday because something's come into leaf, or there's now a dead animal on the floor, or
or a tree came down, or
someone else has built a den there.
I think that's part of what keeps me interested and means that I'm still doing it. Actually, because everything changes all the time, and there are new challenges every day, and every part of every day.
You can't plan for them.
And I quite like the fact that it's hard to plan for. I think you need to get different skills, and you just have lots of things up your sleeve all the time. And I love that way of working. And I feel like that does more for me rather than having everything on paper, and knowing that you can deliver it because it's in a classroom.
I was reading something about that. Have you got so I know you've read the book of Trespass.
Oh yeah.
Have you got the new one?
Not yet, I've seen it. Yeah, is it good?
So good.
I'm going on his course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's next month.
What are you doing?
It's a very, very special
What are you doing?
luxurious thing. He's running something at Dartington, and I think it's 5 days, and it's kind of artwork and drawing and writing and canoeing on rivers, and it's a bit of a treat. It's a massive treat.
Amazing.
Because
That's what it's like.
such a great writer and such a great
legend.
thing.
I really want to get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that book, there's lots of little. I think we'll probably talk about it because I've said to you to read it. But there are lots of small, like mini chapters written by experts in different fields, like brain scientists and all the rest of it. And one of the little bits says about like our natural inclination to go into like kind of internal rumination in a negative spirally type way, and we do that when our executive function skills aren't challenged. And obviously your executive function skills can be over challenged and you can become very stressed out again in the modern world and in the indoor environment. But if you're in an outdoor environment, the sensory stuff, the change that's happening, the kind of considerations you're making all the time about where you're walking, what's that noise, all those things are keeping you in the moment, and so your executive functioning is being challenged just the right amount, ideally, in an outdoor environment. And like you're describing as well, and again with a group, then that's another thing all the time, like you're saying, you can't plan for it. What am I going to do now? I'm problem solving all the time, but in a little manageable way. And that moment's over and now we're on to the next thing. It's not like a massive like, oh god, I've got this horrible project on at work and I really don't get on with my boss. Like, that's a different type of stress, isn't it? Whereas this is, his argument is that it's just the right amount of challenge to stop you going into that ruminative way of thinking. I thought, god, I think that is true.
That makes perfect sense to me, and I definitely feel like that's probably happening for me and my brain. But do you think that happens for everybody? Because we definitely,
It makes me
might
think
meet
about,
people in the woods and they're not necessarily going
They're
through
not thinking all those
processes.
things that you might be.
or the opposite. What's it? Is it Chris Packham? And he said he couldn't go for a walk in the woods anymore because he wasn't hearing bird song. He was hearing blackbird stress call, buzzard asking for mating.
okay.
This thing's going
Yeah,
like
too much.
too much.
knowledge.
It wasn't just like like that. I think it's like a meme now, isn't it? Like bird song to us sounds like la la la, and they're all actually going like fuck off. This is my words. And he was like going the other way and saying like, yeah, my executive function is hearing it at a different level.
Yeah.
I think there's something in the woods though that lets you choose how much you engage with that executive function stuff for the most part.
We definitely.
Give us some more. What do you mean?
Well, I mean in terms of like, if you want to, you can go off running and you can challenge your balance and your spatial reasoning and your whatever, everything that comes with that. If you want to, you can be sat on a bench or on a log and you can just engage with like, it's the wind. The wind is touching my skin and that's all I've got the brain space for right now. But that comes with the pedagogy of it being like learner centered rather than it being... And that's where it is with me saying that I thought I was putting everyone on the same journey. We'll all go for a run, we'll all go and do this thing, whereas actually now I've got a lot more understanding of like sitting still in the wind is as challenging and engaging for someone as another person being like, I need to run and climb this tree and be singing a song at the same time.
We describe what we do as being low demand, and that means low demand from us. We're not
We
making
don't need
demands
anything from you.
but that doesn't mean that there aren't quite a lot of demands that already exist from the environment, like you say. The wind or the rain or the temperature or the uneven ground or socially from other kids.
And I think it can change really quickly because you have a kid that is getting the exact sensory feedback they need from the river and they're loving it, and then they are like, yeah, this is great, this is great, this is great, this is great, and then it goes in their socks or like they dunk their head under and then they're like, oh this is too much, and then you're like, all right, come on then, and we sort you out. But like it's you don't know when that is gonna change or like when it'll happen, and they don't either, which is quite fun to like, you test it out and you see what's alright. And everyone is doing that all the time, even if they're sitting on a bench.
It's quite hard to blame the woods. Like, if you've got stuff where it's like this resource, if it's like a resource that's been taken away from you by an adult, by a superior, like you are now not having this play sword anymore, the dressing up box is going away, that's a very different thing.
Easy to like go, yep, blame you.
Yeah, you're the prick. And like, whereas if you whack it on a tree and it snaps, that's the same result. The resource is gone, but there's something different about it. You can't blame the woods. I mean, some people do. Some kids call trees pricks.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say I feel like we still get quite a lot of blaming the woods. I'm trying to think of an example, and I'm sure I'll think of one in a minute. But
rain
like
is quite
it's a
often the one
thing.
people are like, the rain is ruining my day.
Yeah.
Like the rain.
Yeah.
We quite often tell the wind to fuck off.
Yeah.
The wind can fuck off now.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So we have the steep bank, and some like, yeah, this is really fun, this is great, and then they slide on their butt all the way down, land in brambles, and then they're like, yeah, I hate it, I'm never getting, nope, that's not for me.
Stupid woods!
Yeah, and then the like anger is there for the woods specifically.
Still a transformation though, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say that whole process of like being tested almost by the elements, by the environment. I'm just thinking about that, going back to it being transformative and like over time repeatedly having those experiences that are unpredictable, and my tummy's rumbling, sorry. And I'm thinking about reasons why people say that cold water swimming is really helpful, because it being like, it's really testing, it's really kind of going, okay, well, this is really uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it anyway, and I've done it now. And the reason that being helpful is that because then you can apply that same kind of step process to other times in your life that are scary or threatening or whatever, and go, well, no, I actually can.
I made it
do
through that.
Exactly. And just like, or like social situations where you're like, oh, I don't want to put myself in that place because it's scary, but if I do it, there might be a good outcome. And it literally, those kind of neural pathways in your brain just being trodden and retrodden and retrodden, and whether there's something about that happening in the unpredictable outdoors that is part of that transformative journey, because you're having these challenges and you're like, yeah, but I can do it though, and that is part of the transformative process.
Definitely, I think that is something that outdoor adventure ed would say. You know, that would be a part of that learning for them.
That's like the expedition view, I definitely think. Like,
Yeah.
when you walk up a hill and you don't, like the type 2 fun sort of stuff, where you like think that
What's
you're like,
type 2 fun?
Yeah, what is type 2 fun?
I thought you guys would know. I just
Come
was
on,
like,
what is
yeah,
it?
I'm
What
not
does it
gonna
mean?
over explain. Like, so you have type 1 fun, where it's fun when you're doing it, it's fun when you think about it after. Type 2 fun, this is not fun, I hate this hill, I hate this woods, and then you do it, and then you're like, oh yeah, that was kind of good, I'll do that again. And then you have like type 3 fun, which is not fun. Whereas like, it wasn't fun doing it, it's not fun when you think about it again.
Oh right, but
And then you
somebody
don't-
else would expect it to be.
but it might make
for some people.
So
it would be
type
that.
3 fun makes a funny story.
Oh, okay.
So it's not fun when you're doing it,
Yes.
it's not fun when you think about it, but
Yeah.
leave it for like 3 years and you'll be like, oh yeah, that was kind of funny.
Yeah. Like my first ever go at abseiling and climbing, that's definitely type 3. Like, it's a hilarious story, but no,
I've forgotten
am I
even what I
fucked
was
doing that
talking
again?
about.
No.
Why
Sorry,
did I
type-
say
Walking up a
type-
hill,
type
getting
2
through
fun.
it.
The pain of it,
Yeah,
and the challenge of it,
like,
and
it's
it's
like-
supposed to be
Yeah.
transformative.
Yeah, or like
because it's a
character
challenge
building, and it's like a bit, it can be a bit toxic, like that, like,
Yes.
Yeah.
you need to, climb up that hill and you'll feel better about everything. You're like, yeah, I just
But
kind of
really?
climbed up a hill.
Yeah.
And I think that it can give you a different mindset, or you can go, yeah, actually, I'm surprised that I could do that, but maybe you won't be. Maybe you'll be like, yeah, all right, that's cool.
It was, yeah.
I thought I could do that.
Or it's too much. Actually, it was just too stressful,
Yeah.
too difficult.
Yeah.
But do you reckon that maybe the woods has the potential to kind of offer those experiences, but in a less hardcore, extreme way? So it might be
Yeah, I
a
definitely
bit
Kids
more
can
gentle.
seek it
you know?
out.
I'm
if
quite
they wanna
interested
do
in
that
the
that day.
adventure ideas and the expedition, ideal. I find that quite interesting, and we do feed some of that into what we do, but I definitely agree that actually you can introduce lots of those ideas in the woods, and so there are lots of things about being uncomfortable because of the weather and managing it, and then realizing that you're fine actually, and you can experience all those things in a really comfortable way or in a more managed way, where there are magical guides to help you through it.
It's a gateway drug.
It is a gateway drug to adventure and climbing mountains.
Type 2 fun is work play. We have a recurring thing about work play, which is that, like, you know, when you watch a group of learners with absolutely no impetus whatsoever, they just go like, we need to get the stuff into the oven now, and they make themselves really stressed, like, we've got to get all the buckets up the hill, and
Yeah.
like, you haven't put anything in here, right? You're not threatening them, they're just
They
they make
play
their
with
own
their own.
they've made their own the queen is coming and we have to do the fucking thing.
And they're like red and they're shouting at each other, and they're just like full
You're
of
looking
like,
at it going
like
like, this can't be fun. Is this fun?
Yeah,
Is this fun for you?
Yeah.
That's
And they're really shouting, no, your job is to do this. Okay, no, but your job is to do this. And like, to an outsider or someone who's not used to witnessing much play,
they'd be
Yeah.
like, what?
they are,
what?
you know. And I've had
It'd
teachers
be
say
concerning.
to me, yeah, I've had teachers
It'd
say
be quite
it to me.
confronting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teachers going, yeah, see, this is the problem with this class. Whenever they have just free time to themselves, they just argue. It's like,
They're
yeah,
not
but
arguing.
can you look at what
They're
they're
in
actually
role.
doing?
Yeah.
They're in role,
Yeah.
and they're taking turns, and they're delegating, and they're doing all this stuff. It just happens to be very loud and very physical, and you're not used to seeing
But
that.
that was really funny because we did the kite making in a hall, with kids that we have in the woods, and I was like, they're really loud, but you just don't even hear it. And then our sister was like, oh god, it just smells of kid farts. She was like, it just smells so bad of kid farts. She was like, I can't wait to get outside again.
Yeah.
But like, we don't even have to worry about that. Like,
Yeah.
we're just in the woods. They can be as loud as they want. We don't have to worry about the
Very
kid
true.
farts.
You don't have to smell people. It's very true. Oh.
right. I'm cooked.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
I
absolutely
thought you
cooked.
must be
So
really
much
baked.
for
Mind and
coming,
body.
Well
guys.
done. Yeah. Oh, thanks for having us.